So let's so what's to come? What's the prophecies that have yet to be fulfilled?
You know, the Trump prophecy. You know, and I usually let Mary speak on some of these interviews when it comes to this because I don't want people thinking that I'm tooting my own horn because I don't do that. All right. But every line on that prophecy so far has come to pass except for the last line, and that where it says that the mainstream media will begin to agree with him. Now, we got to ask ourselves, what is it going to take for the mainstream media to begin to agree with him? Well, we're going to lose a couple of news media outlets. I honestly believe that because God is done with the news media. He's fixing to clean house. Again, because you cannot attack God's anointed and not have ramifications. And Donald Trump is his anointed. Now, Megyn Kelly was a prime example. Megyn Kelly, on the first debate, she was going to go after Donald Trump to try to take him down. What people don't understand is the morning of that debate, she got violently ill. And this is words out of her own mouth. She got violently ill to the point she didn't think she was going to be able to do the debate. And she had a bucket sitting next to her and a blanket over her legs during the debate. And that was a warning shot from God. Do not touch my anointed. Now, she did it anyway. And look what's happened to Megyn Kelly. Her life has never been the same, and neither has Fox. Fox has been in chaos ever since then. So that's what you're going to see happening. I think you're going to see the news media cleaned out. You're going to see corrupt government officials go down. I said I did Jim Baker show here not too long ago. I released something that you're going to see arrest warrants taking place, and we're going to have to be careful how they do this because this is going to go so deep they could take down parts of government, literally, and you're going to see military-style tribunals break out. Divine justice is not coming. Divine justice is being poured out right now. And here's what people don't understand because there's been a 100% media blackout on this. 3,000 elite pedophiles have been arrested since the inauguration. And that's not a whole lot of common knowledge. People don't understand that. It's because they've had a 100% media blackout on it. And there are two Navy SEALs right now, ex-Navy SEALs, that are trying to get the word out. They're making a documentary to try to get the word out to the public that how many arrests have actually been made. Now, these are well common names, and they're not releasing the names of elites that have been arrested. And then you've also got ex special forces that are going around the world right now, literally pulling these kids out of these satanic cults of pedophilia, child sacrifices, and they're rescuing these kids and bringing them back is what they're doing. And this is the stuff you're not hearing on the news right now. So you're going to see literally, I prophesied in 2015, well, you read the prophetic word that the Clintons were going to go down. Obama's going to go down. They're all going to go down. Everybody who is corrupt, time is up for those who are corrupt, is what the title of the prophecy was. And God is very serious when he says he's going to clean house. And it's just, everybody keeps asking me, when's it going to start? When's it going to start? It's already started. It's just, they're not saying anything. And the other thing you have to understand, Trump being 10 places ahead of everybody else, he's not going to tip his hat as to what he's doing. You know what I mean? He's just not going to. You're just going to wake up one morning and all of a sudden Hillary Clinton's going to be in jail. Boom. Or she's going to be indicted before the committee, Senate committee. You know what I mean? And I believe she will go to jail because it will also be a sign to the United States that spirit called Jezebel has been locked up and the key thrown away. So you're going to see that. I wrote with the judges. Now, when everybody was starting to panic when Obama was going out of office, because I had gone to Mary Colbert, my co-author, and I said, Mary, I said, I originally prophesied that there was going to be 3 Supreme Court justices replaced. And I was meditating on the Lord one day, and the Lord came back and he said, Mark, he says, it's going to be 5 now. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't change prophetic words once I write them. It's like tainting something. I don't do that. So I wrote a new prophetic word, and he said, one's going to die. He said, one's going to retire. 3 will be caught in a scandal, and they will have to be removed. So I went to Mary and I told her this, and she can verify it all. I didn't write it down in the prophecy because I got the prophecy after Scalia died as far as what was going to truly take place. But I said, Mary, one's going to die. It's not going to be who we expect. Well, it was like a month and a half later, Scalia died. And so everybody was panicking because we all know that he didn't die of natural causes. Give me a break. You know what I mean? They were trying to force their hand to get a liberal judge in before he retired. Well, everybody was panicking. Well, at Scalia's funeral, God gave 2 signs that was not going to happen. So I wrote that prophetic word saying, no, this is not going to happen. It has been reserved for Donald Trump. And the day that he was inaugurated, that part of the prophecy came to pass. And then, of course, he replaced with Gorsuch. Now, in that prophecy, God says, I will replace 5 Supreme Court justices, and God himself is going to reform the court. And when he does that, God says, the great I am, meaning God, he himself will take on that great case called Roe versus Wade, and it will be overturned. You're going to see that overturned. And that is going to be the day, I believe, that you're going to see, well, you're going to see America prosper like never before. But spiritually speaking, Baal is the strong man over America, and the food source for Baal is the aborted babies. So the day that that's repealed, it's going to get kicked back to the states, and it'll be up to each state to handle it from there on. But on a federal level, you're going to see that overturned.
So there's such a divide right now in America, though. You can see it everywhere you go. It's either you hate Trump or you love Trump. I mean, there's some in the middle, but it's a great divide. Do you think that we'll start seeing people on the hate Trump start to realize who he is and come over, or do you think that those people are just gonna leave, or what's gonna happen?
No, I think what you're going to see happen is, because I wrote a prophecy called America, America, and in that it talks about that even the Trump prophecy, it talks about how America is going to prosper under this president. America is going to prosper like never before. I wrote another prophecy called Energy, that Israel and America will be the #1 energy producers in the world. Now, again, you got to go back to World War II again, and because there's a World War II component to all this. England was the hub by which the D-Day assault was launched. So you had manpower, money, food, weapons kept pouring into England. Well, now it's America. America's going to be the hub by which the end-time assault will be launched to free the spiritually oppressed people of the earth. So you're going to see manpower, equipment, money, food, everything's going to be pouring into the United States for that last push across the earth. So that's what you're going to see happening, and that's why Donald Trump's in where he's in right now. It's unfortunately it takes all these things to move the gospel, and so that's what you're going to see happen with America. We're going to prosper like never before. We're going to take the fight to the enemy, and I love what Donald Trump says. He says you're going to get sick of winning, and if there is such a thing as that, and it's almost like that with the army of God. So God, that is actually prophetic. That is God speaking through that man to the army of God. He says, you're going to get sick of winning, because that's exactly what the army of God is going to do. It's going to be win, 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 period. The days of losing, and that's the other thing, the days of being in a defensive posture for the army of God doesn't take a defensive posture like the church does. They're not cowered down in the landing craft, afraid to hit the beaches, okay, because of being politically correct or whatever the case may be. The army of God takes an offensive posture. They don't wait for the enemy to come to them. They go to the enemy. They take that ground and they hold it. And that's what the church has got to learn to do. It's time to go on the offensive.
I agree. It's so much sitting around. You go to church and you consume a message. You go home, you consume some dinner. You watch TV, you consume some brain controlled TV. It's just like what? Yeah. You're allowing the new world order to create your own reality, and you have to step up and create your own reality instead of letting them feed you what you think the world is. Go out and do your research, and that's why people are watching this show right now, is because they want their own reality, and it's not postmodernism. It's finding the truth and then making your life fruitful because of it.
Right. Don't, and that's the other thing about the doom and gloom messages. They're indoctrinating you. When you listen to that garbage, I don't care if it's in church, I don't care if it's in news media, I don't care where it is. They're indoctrinating you to listen to that garbage, and it's literally changing the DNA of man is what it's doing. The enemy is literally trying to steal your free will, because they want you to think. They want to control your thinking habits. They want to control how you act, how you speak. All of that stuff. That's why I tell people, stop listening to that mess. It's killing people, literally killing them. So, but when you start listening to the good news and you saturate yourself with the good news, I don't even listen to the news media most of the time. People say, "Hey, did you hear what happened in the news?" No, I don't know what happened in the news. Unless I may check Fox's website or something like that. You know what I mean? And that's about it. Hit the highlights. And but it's just one of those things where it is time to break out. It is time for a massive move, and the army of God is doing it. It's the remnant that's doing it. God's just trying to add to his numbers right now. And if you'll notice, the churches, and we can go into this as a whole other subject too, with the 501c3s and stuff like that. what you're going to see happen, you're going to see church done in a whole different light. You're going to see home churches breaking out all over the country, I believe. You're going to see in the marketplace. You're not going to see church done the way it's been done over the centuries. The Lord showed me in these home groups that basically they're going to be small spec op groups. And in these spec ops groups, God's going to release, God woke me up one morning, he says, loose the battle plans of heaven on earth. And each spec ops group will have a different battle plan, because if you'll notice, even in the natural, and as a small spec op group, they're going to go in, they're going to have their own plan. They're going into rescue, or they're doing this, and the next group will go in to do something totally different. It's going to be that way in these different small groups like this. And that is where you're going to see the true power and true authority of God come through with some of these smaller groups like that.
This video belongs to lordsprophecy.com. Please visit our website for more update. lordsprophecy.com. Spelling LORDS prophecy.com. Thanks for your support.
And the one thing that you said to me, which is fascinating, because our last episode was Dr. Michael Lake, and we talked about the bricks and the mortar of the Tower of Babel. And you tie that into the 501c3, I think is fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. The 501c3 was a death sentence for the church, period. The Bible talks about, when you take a bribe, it blinds the eyes of the righteous or blinds the eyes, and it perverts the words of the righteous. And that's why I think you see so many prophetic words going from one end of the spectrum to the other and everywhere in between, and these different messages, is because it's blinded them. They've taken a bribe. And it's because the 501c3 back in 1954, they call it the Johnson Amendment. And this guy was a 33rd degree Mason. Well, first off, this guy wasn't smart enough for all of this, period, to put all this together. This was a think tank that put all this together. Now, 1954 was also the same year the Bilderbergs was established. Coincidence? I think not. You know what I mean? So, so they basically knew that if we can't beat the church, the church was flowing in power and authority before then. And if they can't beat the church, let's get them to join us. So they gave them that 30 pieces of silver. And of course, they knew towards the end times that these pastors become dirty, filthy lucres, like the Bible talks about. And they took it and ran with it. They fell into the trap. So when they did that, they entered into an agreement with the kingdom of darkness. They entered into an agreement with Baal, a covenant with Baal. It's the Baal system. And it's the same thing the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. It's the same money banking system, right? So when they did this, the Lord was showing me that it kind of opened a demonic portal over these churches. Now, we don't have exact numbers, but our best guess is about 95% of their churches in America are 501c3s. So that tells you how much we're hurting. But you're seeing literally God shaking the church. Now, I prophesied on one of those prophecies. I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me. I said that when Donald Trump is elected, a sign will be given. The earth shall quake because of who I have selected. 4 days after he was elected, there was a massive earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand. Now, you got to ask yourself, why Christchurch, New Zealand? Because there's a shaking and a quaking coming to Christ's church, period. And it's a judgment. The church is under judgment. Judgment starts in the house of the Lord. The churches are under judgment. The leadership's under judgment. Now, they were waiting for a tsunami to come in. They'd already had the first wave. They were waiting on the second one to come in. The first wave, I think you're already seeing taking place. You're seeing a mass exodus from the church right now because people are tired of it. They're tired of the money. They're tired of the prosperity message. They're tired of the moral issues. They're tired of the no accountability, all this stuff. The second one I believe you're going to see is going to be the finances dry up. You're going to see the superstars go away. We've already had 4 fall this year already. The superstars are going to go away. It's going to be that everyday, normal, common person we talked about. But the 501c3, and here's what people don't understand. When you entered into a covenant with Baal, the enemy is very patient. In 1954, let's just jump 10 years ahead. Prayer got taken out of schools. Where was the church? Silent, nowhere to be found. Let's jump ahead another 10 years. The big one, Roe versus Wade. Where was the church? Silent, nowhere to be found. People always say, I get so sick and tired of hearing it. Oh, America's under judgment because of the aborted babies. No, it's not, folks. The blood of those babies is on the church's hands. The church is the spiritual and moral compass of any country, period. The church sold its soul for that 30 pieces of silver, and the blood of those aborted babies, the church being taken out of schools, is all on its head, period. So when you enter into a covenant, the Bible says, do not be unequally yoked. When you're a 501c3, you are now equally yoked with other 501c3s. You're now yoked with the Satanic Church, Islam, Wicca, pro-choice, Planned Parenthood. If you want to know why the pro-life 501c3 ministries can't make headway in the legal aspect, is because they are yoked with pro-choice and Planned Parenthood. So I know what people are saying. You don't understand, Brother Mark. I was on the courthouse steps screaming at the top of my lungs. No, you don't understand. When you are yoked with Baal, Jesus says you can't cast out Satan with Satan. So when you are in covenant with something, how can you cast an entity out that you're in covenant with? You can't. So that's why the church has not been able to make any ground. This is why the remnant is moving forward right now with God's agenda, is because of that demonic contract. Now, that's just one part of it. The second part of that is that's on a federal level. The second part of that, it was never, ever intended for a church to be a corporation, period, bar none. Jesus turned the tables over in the temple. Why did he do that? Because they were turning it into a business, period. And he said that my house will be a house of prayer. So now you have the state level. So people can scream, oh, Jesus is the head of my ministry, all you want. If you're a 501c3, no, he's not. Baal is. The state is. The pastor is working for the state, period. So we're called to rule and reign and to govern. So how can we govern when we're being governed over? We have two levels of government over us right now. This is why the church is not flowing in power and authority right now. So we have to ask ourselves, have we truly ever had a fivefold ministry? Have we been governing? Because under the 501c3, I don't think so. And the problem with that is because this demonic portal that they're in covenant with that's going on in the churches is, how can they flow in power and authority? You really can't. And we've lost our discernment. It's affecting our discernment to the point that the church has no discernment. So if the Holy Spirit is actually operating in a church, can they really discern between the difference between that and the Kundalini? A lot of churches can't. And a lot of places are operating under that Kundalini spirit, but they can't discern it because of that. I believe that 501c3 stuff that's going on. So this 501c3 has just decimated the churches. That it really has.